I'm Brian Davis for your Miami Hurricanes post-game recap. Saturday afternoon, the Miami Hurricanes down at the Hard Rock Stadium in South Florida. Miami Hurricanes trying to put something together, put back-to-back wins together, and they were not able to do so as the Miami Hurricanes fell at home to the lonely Georgia Tech Bulldogs in ACC play Saturday afternoon at Hard Rock Stadium down in South Florida in Miami. Hurricanes fall by a score of 28-21 in overtime as the Miami Hurricanes just bad, uninspiring football. It was 21-21. Miami had a halftime later up 21-21, and the Hurricanes were totally shut out in the entire second half, including the extra period during overtime, as really Georgia Tech ended up racking up 207 rushing yards was the key, as they averaged 4.6 yards on the ground. And it was really in the overtime period the Miami Hurricanes ended up winning the toss. They like to go on defense, and then Georgia Tech scored a touchdown, and it was 28-21. So the Hurricanes had to score a touchdown and get at least an extra point or a 2-point conversion for a chance to win the game. But then, it was on the fourth down play where quarterback for the Hurricanes, it was Nicoe ended up hooking up with the wide receiver. Nicoe ended up hooking up with the wide receiver on fourth down. And then he just fell just short. It was fourth and about it was at the 5-yard line. He needed to get to the 4 for first. He just fell just short within inches, and then they didn't. And then they brought the measuring sticks out, and the Hurricanes fell just short. And it was just not that one play. It was just other plays. They allowed a touchdown on two non-offensive plays. The Hurricanes offense, Nicoe got strip sack fumble in the end zone. The Bulldogs recovered the end zone for a touchdown. And then it was the fake punt by the Hurricanes. Their special teams was really another significant letdown when their punter for the Bulldogs threw a touchdown fake punt, and the gunner for the Hurricanes fell flat-foot asleep, and that was another mental mistake. And then the horrendous field goal kicking by the Hurricanes. Both Bubba Baxter and Turner Davidson both missed field goals of 34 and 27 yards. Davidson also had a field goal block, so 3 missed field goals. And one of the 3 was blocked. That was a potential at least 6 more points, at least at the worst. 6 points went down the toilet due to missed field goals, especially, and here's the intriguing stat. The intriguing stat of the day for Hurricanes. For the Hurricanes, they have missed this season, 6 field goals from inside the 34-yard line or fewer. And that's what show you why the Hurricanes are they are 1-3 in the conference and 3-4 overall. And then they allowed the fake punt, and then also to make things didn't help was also more compounded when Hurricanes junior wide receiver Jeff Thomas was suspended prior to the game. Reports where he was suspended for Saturday's game versus Georgia Tech for violation of team rules. So they were kind of shorthanded. DJ Dallas left the game. He had 3 carries for 14 yards in the contest with a knee injury, and it was just all bad in all phases. And the offense total regression from the previous week, from last Friday night's 17-9 win against Virginia. And it is not a good night to be a Hurricanes fan on the day when the Hurricanes honored their past, when the Hurricanes had the 30-year reunion of the 1989 Hurricanes team that won the national championship. Former Hurricanes head coach Dennis Erickson, who led the Hurricanes to the 2 national titles under his wing, replacing Jimmy Johnson, who left to go coach the Dallas Cowboys that year after the '88 season. Dennis Erickson won his other title was 1991, and it's just an uninspiring performance by the Hurricanes on Saturday. It's just very disappointing. And then the Hurricanes now, in all 4 of those losses so far this season, they have lost by a total of 7 points or less. And with that loss, and look at just some of the other stats. Miami had 20 first downs. They were 5 of 12 of third down efficiency. They just could not get off the field. The Bulldogs were 6 of 14. And, looking at the penalty and looking at the sacks, 3 sacks apiece for both teams. Miami was penalized only 4 times for 25 yards. That was a positive, while Georgia Tech was penalized 8 times for 72 yards. Looking at some of the numbers in the contest, as Nikolai was 16 of 28, threw for 188 yards, 2 touchdowns. James Graham for the Bulldogs of Georgia Tech was 9 of 18, 97 yards, with a quarterback rating 113.6. Jordan Mason, 20 carries for 14 yards, average 6.7 yards. Jerry Howard Jr., 5 carries for 22 yards, average 4.4 yards. And Jamoris Griffin, 8 carries for 21 yards, average 2.6 yards. For the Hurricanes, Perry had 7 carries for 15 yards. DJ Dallas left the game for 3 before with his knee injury. Finished the day 3 carries, 14 yards, averaging 4.7 yards. D. Wiggins, 2 balls caught for 62 yards, averaging 31 yards a catch. Michael Harris, 4 balls for 50 yards, averaging 12.5 yards. And KJ Osborne, he caught 4 balls for 39 yards. And then for Jimmy Graham, he had 100 all-purpose yards. So that was pretty much it. That kind of was the tale of the story Saturday afternoon. With the loss, Hurricanes dropped their record to 1-3 in the ACC Coastal Division, while Georgia Tech improved to 1-3, their first win in the ACC play. They're 2-5 overall. So the next game for the Hurricanes will be 1 week from next Saturday, 1 week from today. They will travel, and it doesn't get any better. The Hurricanes finished this stretch of 3 straight home games, finishing a dismal 1-2 at home in conference play. And this was a game that they really needed to have to get back into the race in the ACC's Coastal Division. But the loss a win today would have definitely put them back in the race. But with this loss today, that all but pretty much buried them's chances for winning the ACC Coastal Division, as they now with a 1-3 record sit in the basement in the Atlantic Coast Conference Coastal Division. So next week, the Hurricanes will take on the Pittsburgh Panthers, as they will travel to Heinz Field in Pittsburgh to take on the Panthers 1 week from next Saturday at Heinz Field in Pittsburgh. It will be a 12 p.m. Eastern kickoff time, and the Hurricanes now will begin the first of what will be 4 of their final 5 outside of the bye week in week 12. 4 of their final 5 games will be all away on the road, and the Hurricanes really have no margin for error, and it looked like they had a win would have put them right back in the race in the ACC Coastal Division. But the loss today could pretty much put any hopes for them of winning that division. And the Hurricanes, from this point forward, are trying to survive this thing, and right now sitting at 1-3 and 3-4 right now. Would have to win at least would have to go at least 3-2 in their final 5 games to have a chance to easily survive and to have a chance to go to a bowl game, which right now it's very unlikely to happen the way of this poor play of the Hurricanes, this lack of inconsistency. So, next Saturday's game against Pittsburgh at Pitt Stadium, or I should say it will be at Heinz Field in Pittsburgh. The kickoff time will be at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. The game will be seen on the Miami Hurricanes flagship station, The Joe, WQAM AM radio, as Joe Zaski and Don Bankley Jr. will give you the play-by-play in action for the booth, and then Josh Darrow will give you the reports on the sideline reporter, and then also on the Hurricane Spanish radio network, WNYM 99 AM, as Jose Martinez will give you the play-by-play in action. For the latest news on Miami Hurricanes football, go to hurricanesports.com. That's it for now. I'm Brian Davis for your Miami Hurricanes postgame recap. Once again, the final score: Hurricanes fall to the Georgia Tech Bulldogs by a score of 28-21 in overtime. Thank you for watching Miami Hurricanes football postgame recap.